What's going on, boys and girls? What's up, world? Austin John Plays here, and welcome back to Stage Builder Tips. Today, pixel art. So yesterday in our stage review, we took a look at one of the first pixel arts that we saw, which was Tanooki Mario. I had some pretty harsh criticisms to it, and it was pretty fair because, well, it wasn't a fun stage to play on, and that's the most important part. Other than having something cool to look at, you want to make sure that it's going to play and it's going to function well. So because of that, today we're going to take a look at some good practices that you can use for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate doing pixel art. First things first, we need to turn on layer view and we need to go ahead and get ourselves a grid. With the grid, we're going to be able to see everything going on. I'm going to be using a large battle stage right here. We're going to be doing 8-bit Link because why not? Essentially, we need to go and we need to create on the grid exactly what we want. Now, I'm not going to be doing Link as the actual fighting ground because I feel like that's just not going to be fun. Instead, I'm going to be making him the background. Now, the problem is you're not able to make a piece this small. Instead, every pixel that you want to make actually needs to be a full block, which kind of sucks, admittedly, but still, it's going to be our best bet. Now, where exactly on the stage you start making your pixel art, it doesn't make too much of a difference just because, well, you're going to be able to move it anyways. We do have a pretty good color palette here as far as what we can work with, and don't worry about getting a shape wrong because you could always just click the edit button, and with the edit button you're able to take, drag, move the position, and then also you can get some really cool blending if you bring it one piece over. However, if you want to stay true to pixel art, then yes, you just want to stay in the pixels. Now, normally I recommend handheld mode for any sort of stage building that you're going to be doing. However, when you're just doing complete blocks, it's pretty easy to do with the Pro controller if that's your choice. I'm choosing to do it. It's going to take me slightly longer, but I'm going to be able to screen capture it in a much higher quality. So for that, I think it's a pretty fair trade-off. So something important to note that while you're going and you're building your stage, once you hit a certain amount of content in the stage, you're going to get a little notification that says this stage can only fit up to 4 players. That's because there's so much going on, and it probably has to do with the actual processing power of the Nintendo Switch. Boy, I sure would like a cut and paste feature, or maybe even just like a paint by the tiles feature. That would make this process a lot easier. Now, eventually, while you're making your pixel art, you may run into this. Stage capacity is at max, and that means that you drew too many squares. Now, it's not the size of the squares, which is very important. It's how many squares that there are, which is pretty neat. So say, for example, if you see these two right here, they're independent. If I delete one of these, and then if I take this and move it up double the height, I'm not at the maximum. So the difficult part is going to be being able to make the shape that you want as complex as you want it with having as little squares as possible. One of the tricks you're going to be doing for that is taking pieces like the mouth right here, which I've made out of 5 blocks, and we're just going to make it into one large block, and then we're going to put a dirt on top of it. And just like that, we're able to clear our capacity quite a bit. And eventually you're going to get to the point that you're going to need to make some compromises, at least for the time being. So the shield right here, if I delete piece by piece, and then I make this an entire thing, I stretch that a little bit higher, and then I place this one right in, you start to see that we get some blending going on between the actual items right here, between the dirt and the sand. And while that kind of sucks, definitely sucks, it's kind of the compromise that we need to make here. Especially for such a large item like this shield that takes up all of this space, we have to get a little crafty. Especially since it's supposed to be a cross, I don't think it looks that bad, and we saved quite a bit of room up here. So, again, not the worst thing in the world. Sometimes you need to make compromises. But most importantly, I think that's going to be just enough that we need in order to finish our drawing. And right here is our completed Link pixel art. We did have to do that compromise right there for the shield, but you know what? It works. It works. If I really had to save some more polygons, which, keep in mind, we haven't even made the fighter stage yet, I'm probably gonna have to take all of this belt and make it with one green piece behind it this entire span. Or maybe the sword and the hand, that would probably work a little bit better. Now, fortunately, I know what I'm gonna be doing for the battle stage, instead of it just being a plain, you know, here's where people are gonna fight. Instead, I want something a little bit craftier than just, you know, here's nothingness. Now, what I've done with the sword here is I made the dirt this one big block, and I brought the sand up as these 3 pieces. Now, for this last piece, if I lay it over again, it does even more blending. And as you can see, I've totally cleared up at least one free space. So I had to make a few more compromises as far as where the foot goes to the bottom of the shield and the belt buckle right here. However, I was able to get my foreground looking pretty awesome, which is essentially Link's sword. So with that, the stage is now good to go. And there we go, we have 8-bit Link. You are fighting on his sword, which is pretty dope. Now, a few things that I want to change. As you see right here, I did the edge of the sword as its own separate piece. However, if we go in and we make it a little bit longer, we can actually place it inside and then it blends in together, which is very nice. And then the last bit is the handle of the sword I want to put over here. So there we go. There is our 8-bit Link. Now, of course, it's not centered, and I would like to center it. Foreground independent from the background. Oh, well, the shield is pretty big, so I guess that does make sense for it to be a little off-centered. There we go. The bottom of the area is actually going to be blocking where we had to do our compromises for the feet and for the belt buckle quite nicely. Now, for whatever reason, this is too small of an area, we could always just come in here and then stretch our foreground a little bit more, and that makes our life super simple. So say, for example, we wanted our sword to be distastefully long. However, because we hit our character cap, I don't think we're going to need to worry about a playing field this long, because this is good for 8 people. We don't have 8 people. An area this large for 4 people, I think that's gonna fit pretty well. So as we see right here, we have our stage ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead, and I tried something else where in the flat editor, it looks amazing, and I decided I would try to use layers. And these layers would be different parts, mostly skin tone and tunic and then everything else. However, if you try to do that when you're actually playing in a 3D world, it does not look great. So, yeah, don't recommend that. So it's me. I just finished editing and recording and everything, and then I came to the realization of, I think I went about this wrong. Because instead of working with all these rectangles like I was in dock mode, when I went into handheld mode, I remembered how easy it was to draw based on the grid. And with that, I was able to draw all of these giant oblong pieces, and as you see, I got my amount of blocks on the stage so low that I could even now have 8 players on it. And, well, that's going to be your cue for pixel art. Now, just counting these individual spaces with your hand is a little bit of a pain, so maybe do the stencil like I did before and then come back like this and then individually put these pieces in. That might be an overall better process for you. It's a pretty simple stage for just being, you know, sort of a Battlefield style with you have Link in the background. And if you're a big fan of Link, especially the 8-bit Link, then yeah, you are good to go. Alright guys, there we have it, some stage tips for 8-bit pixel art in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Stage Builder. If you're enjoying the series, be sure to leave a like down below. I want to see what you've created pixel art wise. Be sure to hit me up on Twitter at AustinJohnPlays. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications. Until next time, Austin John out.